Hi guys, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm great, Jay. How about you?
I'm fine too, thank you. By the way, guys, I thought our child's material last week was very interesting and impressive.
I agree. My favorite story is from Linaki. She has many troubles since she was born, but she can deal with it. Her story is very inspiring.
Yes, she's a great woman. She's able to change her life for better, and even beyond that, what she can imagine.
Yes, indeed, I'm really amazed with her journey. By the way, guys, I want to know, is there any story of your life? What changed your life for the better? For worse, for something else, for your future?
Yes, of course. I think every human being has their own story. So do I.
Yes, I think so.
Yes, I really agree with you guys. So, why don't we have share your story? I think you guys have a amazing story to share.
Okay, guys, Jay, I want to share my life story. Uh, my life story begins with my father and mother. My father and mother are his husband and wife who got married 37 years ago. They got married in my father's hometown, which is just next to my mother's hometown. In the past, my father and mother were of different religions. My father is Catholic and my mother is Muslim. However, my mother and father agreed to live as Catholic. Their decision was well received by both sides of the family. My mother's family did not mind if my mother converted to Catholic, and my father's family certainly agreed with that. And in the end, they married in a Catholic church. After wedding, like most couples, my mom and dad started to work to build their house. In the past, my father's hometown was a village that had not been touched by modernization, so it was rather difficult to find work. My father's first job was constructing coconut, which was then processed into coconut oil. The work my father did with all his heart to provide for their needs. Days changed days, uh, months changed months, and years changed years. My father's jobs increased, became a calm wholesaler, and then processed it and sold to the market near where they lived. While my father searches for the best corn and coconut, my mother is at home watching the workers working to corn and coconut. From their job, my father and my mother were able to build their house and buy a motorbike. They worked on that work for many years. One day, my father saw many vehicles from motorbikes to cars passing by in front of their house. From there, my father had an idea that my father should be able to fix the vehicle. And finally, my father told and asked his friends about becoming a mechanic. My father was suggested to take a course to become a mechanic in Yogyakarta. And without thinking, my father immediately went to Yogyakarta. My father left my mother for 3 years for a mechanic course in Yogyakarta. My mother didn't mind that either. My mother was able to handle the work of both of them before. My dad took the mechanic course really and diligently, and as a result, at the end of the course, my father won second place in the final mechanic exam. My father came home proud and had a lot of knowledge. When my father arrived in his hometown, my father immediately met with my mother and they missed each other. 1 week after my father's return, my father had the idea that my father wanted them to migrate to the city to find a better job with the skills to trade and repair the vehicle they owned. My father also conveyed his idea to my mother. Without any rejection, my mother agreed with my father. They tried to discuss it with their extended family, and their extended family agreed. Not long after that, my father and my mother moved to the city that they had been targeting before. They targeted the city because they already knew the city from my uncle, who had first migrated to the city. The city is Sukabumi, North Lampung District, Lampung Province, Sumatra Island. Yes, Sumatra Island. That city is where my siblings and I were born, and that city is the beginning of my life story. When my father and my mother moved to Kota Bumi, they lived with my uncle. They lived for 3 years. During 3 years, my father and my mother started a business, namely as a contractor of agricultural products such as corn, cassava, fruits, and the others. From that effort, they can rent a house. The house is there, they live alone and run their business until one day my mother got pregnant. My mother is pregnant with their first child. 9 months passed. It's time for my mom to give birth. But fate said different. Their first children, my older sister, died. She is poisoned by amniotic fluid. My mom and dad are very sad about it, but they are still patient. Long story short, 3 years later, my mother was pregnant again, and it was time for my mother to give birth. However, fate also said differently. Their second child also died from nosebleeds. They were devastated, but they were patient. After that, they decided to focus on their small business first. They ran the business mutually and wholeheartedly, and they developed their business again. And now they are starting to sell basic commodities such as rice, vegetable oils, garlics, eggs, and the others. From a business that was starting to become large, they could buy a car. It was their first and only car in the city because they feel like having children. They try again. However, until 7 years had passed, they had not been given any children. Until the 8 years, my mother was pregnant again. She is pregnant with their child, my older sister. They raised her with great compassion and love. And 6 years later, my mom got pregnant with me, and the account was born by cesarean. I was raised with great affection, love, and care. What I know, they will obey, just like my sister. They are very happy to see us smile. They are very sad to see us cry. They always provide support for what we do, as long as it is good. They seldom scold. I feel so much love they have for me, especially my father. My father and I had a very strong inner contact. We can feel what is going on between us. One incident, I had an accident at school, and immediately my father felt I was calling his name. Then my father looked for it, and finally my father knew that I was not well. There are still a lot of our inner from many extraordinary childhood experience. Deep in my heart was planted a strong sense of sympathy for others. I often feel sorry for seeing beggars, vagabonds, and even madmen starving on the street. I also prefer to see someone else smile than that person cry. If I find someone who is crying, my mind will immediately flash back to the previous incident. It will be more beautiful if that person smiles. Because of the love and care of my parents as well, I can feel what other people feel without them saying it, especially those who are close to me. I have a girlfriend. As long as we were dating, I always managed to guess what she was feeling without she saying. Everything is clearly illustrated. My mom and dad really love us, especially because they have found it difficult to have children. However, it had a good impact on me. I became a soft-hearted person. If I feel and helpless, I aspire in the future I can help those in distress in any form, both surprise and cost. The attitude of my parents made us strong, tough, and also soft-hearted. That's all from me.
Oh God, I'm so sorry to hear that your parents are going through and tough time in the beginning of their marriage journey. Having children is a dream of all marriage people.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. You and your siblings are the most beautiful gifts from God for your parents for sure.
Yeah, definitely. By the way, how about you guys? How's your life goes to have any interesting story to be shared with us?
Of course. I was born in cold city called Wonosobo, Central Java. I'm the second of two children and we all lived together until me and my brother graduated from senior high school. Being born in this family is something that I'm very grateful for. because I feel that every member of my family is my role model. My family is really ambitious toward education. My parents always give rewards and punishment for me and my brother. Therefore, we are always competing to get the best result in each of our school years. All my educational outcomes are as expected from elementary to high school until one day after graduating from high school, I didn't know where I'm going to continue my education. I was majoring science in high school, but unfortunately, I didn't really understand science subjects such as mathematics, physics, chemistry, which made me difficult to determine which major is suitable for me in college. Trying several science majors in public universities, and all of them were rejected, made me didn't know the direction where I should continue my study, and in the end, I decided to take a gap year. And most of my classmates in high school were accepted in prestigious majors such as medical school, engineering, pharmacy, architect, in well-known public universities. It made me feel insecure back then. If I have to meet my friends because I will definitely be asked where I continue my education. And at that time, I got rejected everywhere and I had a gap year. During my gap year, I really worked hard. I was never lazy to study. I wake up early in the morning around 4 a.m. to review materials and doing some exercise. And I arrange my study schedule just like school from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. I really did it. However, without realizing it, I actually didn't understand the subject matter. One thing I caught while studying was English. I remember very well the first time I understood the tense pattern and how it was actually spoken by native speaker when I watched a lot of YouTube videos and also movie. However, I have another hope that is not a school majoring in English, but a major that is in great demand by science students at my former school. Even though I obviously couldn't catch the lesson while studying. And it is true that I was rejected and I cried so hard, feeling that my ambitious efforts were in vain. Even though, if I think deeper, God actually told me when I felt that I understood the English tense pattern for the first time. It was a sign that God actually directed me to study in English language, but I didn't realize that. All I felt was disappointment at that time, until finally I continued studying at ELESB without enthusiasm. However, after a few months, I can feel grateful to be able to study here because I began to believe that maybe this is the way God gave me to get something far beyond what I thought before. I started dreaming of going abroad, whether it to be continue my education or just for the holiday. It is my dream now. I often see YouTubers whose content is studying or working abroad. This made me dream of becoming like them. Actually, I'm not going to dream specifically like I did before. In the past, I seemed to force God to give me what I want, not what God wants me to do. So I felt disappointed. I still have a dream. I really want to continue my education or have the experience of going abroad. However, I will surrender to God regarding the outcomes, whether I will actually go abroad or not. I will do my part to study and work hard to prepare for it. 20 years from now, I want to be the best version of myself, whatever I do and work on later. I became an English teacher. I want to be an English teacher who has fun, integrity, and works with enthusiasm. If I get another job, maybe a job that I have never imagined before, just like now I'm studying at ELESP, which I've never imagined before. I will do it earnestly and with enthusiasm. So, actually, what I expect 20 years from now is not about people seeing what job I have or what position, but whatever blessing I receive from God, I will make that also to be a blessing for others. Maybe the simple things, for example, through our life story. Like right now, we share story because I believe that story can give a power, or more than that, I can share what I have in terms of to help others. So my life can become blessing for others. That's all my story,
Very
guys.
cool story, Kezia. God decided to result what we asked for. And our part is just do our best and let go God to do the rest.
Yes, of course, Jay. Uh, by the way,
Hmm.
I think we haven't heard your story, Jay. Can you tell us your story?
Yeah, of course. Okay. Hello guys, my full name is Sanjaya Pandji Putri. You can call me Cece because Cece means older sister. And I am the first child in my family. And I have a young brother. His name is Stephen Sanjaya Pandji Putra. And I live in Tanjung Enim, South Sumatra with my parents and my grandmother. Wait. Do you know guys about Tanjung Enim?
No, can you tell us a little bit about Tanjung Anindita?
Aha, so Tanjung Enim is a small town which is known as the largest school production in my religion. There's a world-class school company that really cares with the environment, which is known as Bukit Asam Company.
Oh, Tanjung Enim is a part of Palembang City, right?
Yeah.
South Sumatera. I'm from Lampung, so that I've heard that before.
Yes, Teddy, that's right. My mother is a private tutor while my grandmother lives together with my family since my birth until now. I don't feel like I am 20 years old. Many memories and events that I have experienced so far, both in joy and in sorrow. I grew up in very loving and caring family, especially my grandmother, who people who people thinks that my grandmother only has two grandchildren, even though she has many grandchildren. So that he spends her time and live with only with my family. That's why when I had to live in Tanjung Enim to study in Jogja, yes, it's very difficult. Especially that when I realized that my brother always wants to with her two favorite grandchildren. It was difficult for her, as well as my parents will soon have to be a spirit by their two children. This became very sensible. And but of all that had to happen to be seen care. And I realized that my parents had worked hard to rise and fulfill my daily needs. From childhood, they spoiled me so much that I grew up to be less independent child. Very spoiled and overly watched. Whatever I must be known to them and what is it? Whatever I got must deliver. They don't let me go alone. And even when I was in vocational school, my father still escorted me. This is what my teacher often talks about. Your father is very fond his children daughter. Even though she is an adult, he worries when his daughter is not taken to school with her first love. And then, since I was a child, I was a bit shy and I didn't dare to appear in public because it felt that my abilities is very normal. I am often underestimated because of my medical abilities. But gradually, I start to be independent and confident after I was active in several school activities. I joined various communities. My personality began to from knowing who I am, and the more I felt that I have extraordinary abilities. My personality started from since I was junior high school, and I felt a more mature person since I was in high school. I start to have a large relationship with my friends, both of at school and outside. And I had a lot of relationship with older people. And then I start to know all the qualities of my friends. Yeah, from good to bad. But I didn't limit myself to just my friends. I was involved in activities both inside and outside of school. These activities were very useful, even though at first I was sure about myself. This made me less and confidence. Of course, insecure about the abilities that I have. I'm sure that even though my abilities are not the same as the other people, but I believe I have abilities beyond what other people didn't have. I'm a person who is sociable, friendly, and live. That's why I joined the dance group, vocal group, scouts, karate, and until finally 2020, I participated in tourist ambassador selection event, and I was trusted to serve as the 2020 Bujang Gadis Tanjung Enim. With my achievement during that time, I began to believe in myself that I had great abilities, but I didn't believe in the result that I achieved because everything was from God's plan for me to become a better and more valuable person. There is a quote that says, self-confidence is a superpower. Once you start to believe in yourself, the magic begins to happen. Now I am increasingly aware and confident that I must be to able to progress and to be successful both in college and in my career. I always try my skills and in the course related to beauty, where my dreams are the path and the future. Happily, I can apply my knowledge that I have to be successful in my career too. Yeah, it is a paid hobby. Of course, I always hope only in my God and my super system, my family, and my friends. There are things that we must be expert without understanding, and I believe that all events there is a start learning, and therefore, what happened today? Close your eyes and try to be smile and happy and happiness. I'm sorry. Stop waiting to do things do you want to do because today is the best day to do it. Grow is the often uncomfortable, messy, and filled with your feelings you didn't expect. But it's necessary tomorrow is a direct result of your choice to do today. Make happiness a priority and be gentle with yourself in the process.
Wow, you are so talented, Jay. I agree with you that self-confidence is superpower. But to have that is really tough for me. I think I need to learn from you, Jay.
Yes, we can learn from each other. So we can be better person. Really amazing story, guys.
Yeah, let's stop learn from each other, friends. Thanks for sharing, guys.
See
See
you.
you.